Each year on this second Sunday of Advent, we are reminded of John the Baptist and his call for repentance and conversion, of entering into a new way of life. And I have to be honest with you, those words conversion and repentance don't sit real well with me, as I'm sure they don't with most of us, because we think that that's kind of a hard process. But if I'm really reading things correctly, our conversion is really a turning toward the mercy and the love of God. That's really what conversion is about. It's not so much beating ourselves up because of our weakness, because of even our sin, but it's rather turning more towards God that we may be transformed, that we may become those new people that God calls us to be. And so conversion and repentance is primarily being open to the mercy of God. We're all very much aware that our Holy Father has called for a year of mercy that begins this Tuesday, the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. And he invites us, first of all, to be aware of God's mercy for us. And then in turn, that we might reflect that mercy of God, that love of God to others. Archbishop Nauman has requested that in all the churches, the Archdiocese, that he be allowed to give the homily today. And so we'll take a few moments now to listen to our Archbishop.
I've experienced mercy in my life just by working at the church office. People will come in, and sometimes they just even need a person to talk to. They've just been told something tragic, and the first place that they could think of was the church.
Well, I've been fortunate over a lot of years. I've worked for the Catholic Church now for 42 years, and I've gotten to experience so much of God's mercy in just working in the parish life. I think sometimes, probably more that people don't maybe think they're deserving of God's mercy sometimes when the parish reaches out to them.
I've experienced God's mercy through a mission of love that I used to take my old youth group at my previous parish. We would go and feed the homeless, and how we saw God's mercy is just the students' eyes being opened.
I see God's mercy acting in my life in the many ways that my friends and people that I've known have reached out to me. There were periods of my life where I wasn't close with the church when I had fallen away. And during those periods of my life, the most important way that God showed that mercy, when I wasn't coming into a relationship with Jesus Christ, was through others who had that relationship.
Dear friends, in the past year I've consulted with many in the Archdiocese to discern a 10-year shared vision that will guide us as a church in the years ahead. This shared vision identifies 3 key initiatives that will be the first areas of focus as we move forward. These key initiatives are, first, building a culture of evangelization across the Archdiocese. Secondly, strengthening the vocation of marriage and family life. And third, cultivating relationships by engaging in the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. Today we focus on the third facet of that vision, cultivating relationships by engaging in the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. In the Gospel for the second Sunday of Advent, we hear the prophetic voice of John the Baptist. He is the one crying out in the desert, "Prepare the way of the Lord." In our own day, we hear this prophetic voice echoed by Pope Francis, who has called the whole church to prepare the way of the Lord by embarking on an extraordinary Jubilee year of mercy, which begins December the 8th on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception and will continue through Christ the King Sunday next November. Our shared vision to cultivate relationships through mercy corresponds well with the Holy Father's intentions for the year of mercy. As Pope Francis says in his decree, it is absolutely essential for the Church and for the credibility of her message that she herself live and testify to mercy. The Pope is calling all of us to embrace the way of mercy. Hopefully, over the last few weeks, you have had the opportunity to read the articles in the Levin and your bulletins about the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. The corporal works of mercy are those kind acts by which we help our neighbors with their material and physical needs, giving drink to the thirsty, feeding the hungry, visiting the imprisoned, caring for the sick, sheltering the homeless, clothing the naked, burying the dead. The spiritual works of mercy are acts of compassion by which we help our neighbors with their emotional and spiritual needs, bearing wrongs patiently, praying for the living and the dead, admonishing sinners, counseling the doubtful, instructing the ignorant, forgiving offenses, comforting the afflicted. As disciples of Jesus, we are commissioned by the Lord to announce the mercy of God, which is the beating heart of the gospel. As Catholics, we want to make the love and mercy of God a concrete reality. Many of us already practice works of mercy, but this year is a special season of grace in which the Church is inviting us to take our works of mercy to a higher level. So I invite you to encounter Christ by committing to 3 simple things. First, learn and memorize the corporal and spiritual works of mercy by heart. Your parish will provide cards that list and explain the works of mercy. Place these cards where you will see them daily as a reminder and a way to memorize them. If you have children, teach them about the corporal and spiritual works of mercy and encourage your children to memorize them as well. Secondly, look for persons in your life who are in need of mercy. Right now, there is someone in your life that needs mercy, someone who needs to experience the compassion and tenderness of God through you. Please take a moment to visualize this person. Resolve today that in the coming months you will help this person and search for others who need you to be Christ for them. Pray to Christ for eyes to see those in your life who need God's mercy. And finally, live the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. Make a commitment today to help people in need, both physically and spiritually. Please complete the commitment card located in your pew and make a pledge to regularly engage in one or more of the corporal and or spiritual works of mercy this Jubilee year. In a few moments, the ushers will collect the completed cards. These cards will be kept in the sanctuary throughout the Jubilee of Mercy to remind us to live the corporal and spiritual works of mercy in our daily lives. If you wish to take more time to reflect upon this commitment, please feel free to take a pledge card home and return it next week, or go online to make your pledge from home. Just do these 3 things: learn the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, look for those in need of mercy, and live the corporal and spiritual works of mercy in your daily lives. Give to others the gift of mercy that God has so freely given you. I pray that by doing the works of mercy, new relationships will emerge, new friendships will form, and bridges shall arise to span the breaches that can often divide us, so that we can discover the face of Christ in each other. Pope Francis, in announcing the Year of Mercy, said, "It is my burning desire that during this Jubilee, the Christian people may reflect on the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. It will be a way to reawaken our conscience, too often grown dull in the face of poverty. And let us enter more deeply into the heart of the gospel, where the poor have a special experience of God's mercy. Jesus introduces us to these works of mercy in his preaching, so that we can know whether or not we are living as his disciples." Be that disciple of Jesus by your renewed commitment to living the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. For by your gestures of love, compassion, and mercy, the Catholic Church in our corner of Kansas will portray Jesus, the living face of the Father's mercy. Thanks and God bless.
In your pew pockets, and maybe not right in front of you, but close by, and the ushers will also be passing out these cards, a rather long card there. You're asked to fill those out. There are pencils in the pews, or once again, the ushers have pencils, and you can just take a moment or two to think about what corporal or spiritual works of mercy might you particularly want to practice. And then to fill out both sides of that form and tear it in half. One part you can put in the collection this evening, or the other, and the other take home and put somewhere where you'll see it often as a little reminder to truly not only experience God's mercy, but to share it with others.